Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button, Season 3, Episode 33. I'm one of your hosts, and with me is one of the many variants of Sid.
Paul, hey everybody. I hate everyone.
Yeah. And you're
I'm
only
an ancient 30-year-old.
yeah, you're only missing the cigarette or whatever he has in his mouth.
It's definitely a cigarette, I tell you.
Yeah. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing all right. This is finally the end of the drought,
Yeah.
quote unquote drought.
That's the thing. It hasn't
wouldn't be a
been.
drought.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that some of the games haven't really hit the way they needed to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we haven't hit a drought, like not even close.
Not a real one. That's what I was going to clarify on.
Yeah, but
with a little bit of irony as well. It's like,
yeah,
ooh, it's a drought. It's like, oh no, you had 2 releases already.
Yeah,
anyway.
it was more. It's more like it's a drought of like super incredible games that we can't stop playing. I think that's more what it is. But when it comes to actual releases, my God, it's like we can't even dare mention a drought at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like, can you believe like August is technically over? By the time that we record next week, it's September.
It's nuts.
I think.
No.
Oh no, yeah, no,
gonna
it's gonna be
it's
gonna be the last day. Ooh, yeah, that's so nuts. And then the day after, it's like where and certain early access for a certain game starts. But
yeah.
Here's what's so funny: we're gonna be able to record by the time the embargo for Starfield lifts.
Ooh,
so we'll know.
That's gonna be a good little talking point there.
Yeah, we'll know, and we already heard some things that we're not gonna mention here. So the beauty of having people connected in the industry to actually have the game. But yeah, so I can't believe that August is almost done. Like, this is my second episode as a 30-year-old. It still feels weird thinking that I'm 30. I don't feel like it yet. So
it's gonna hit like in about 3 or 4 months, I think. At least that it took me that amount to like 6 months because it takes me longer to understand things. To understand it, but just that like shoots confetti, the grunt birthday party, yay! Comes out, and it's like, oh, so this is it. And it's a little underwhelming, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad it's just been kind of uneventful. The good thing is that I've been feeling good. Like, actually, like health-wise, I'm feeling much better because I've just been like going on walks and all that. And then now suddenly, like, a tiny pain that I have been like sort of feeling like for a little bit has just disappeared. And I was like, oh, cool. This is what it felt like, not to feel that tiny pain there. So it's been good. Like, I love getting the, if you have, well, you don't have an iPhone, but the iPhone that gives you like the walking circles. And today I was like, yeah, you completed your calorie count circle today. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, just chilling, enjoying the rest of this month as we now go into the fall releases. I just cannot wait. But until that happens, we're just going to keep trucking along because this is the X Bottom Podcast, our gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 2 p.m. onwards, God willing. Available on the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So I'm going to start us off with the games because I definitely played a little bit more, and we had tiny overlap. Because I think we talked about it last week. We were like in this schizophrenia mode of like we're just like touching a game and jumping into another, then jumping into another, then jumping into another. I kind of did that with like some of the older games. I kind of mentioned, I think it was last week that I showed that I got the the first Amazing Spider-Man game on PS3 that I finally found it in the marketplace. I finally went and beat it. It was still a pretty fun game, like all things considered. I still my issues with it stand in even more contrast because I actually played the second game almost immediately after, a game that's considered much worse. And playing both of these games back to back, I think they're more close in quality than people actually give them credit for. It's just one came out on PS3, the other one came on PS4, so expectations were different. And also, I think that game was even buggier, the second game, like right at launch. When I played it, it was not buggy at all.
I remember hearing a lot about it.
Yeah, it just felt rushed. But when I played it, I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is solid. It has like for example, like my big problem with Amazing Spider-Man 1, especially binging it like I did, level variety in that game is non-existent. It's either you're in the sewers or you're in Oscorp. That's literally all the levels. In the second game, there's actual level variety. There's like different environments that you go. You fight different villains. Like the villains you fight in the Amazing Spider-Man 1 is just Scorpion, Rhino, and the Lizard, and Alistair Smythe. That's like that's just everything. And then in the second game, you fight the Kingpin, you fight Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, Green Goblin. You fight the Shocker, you fight Kraven the Hunter, which is so funny because we're gonna get a Kraven the Hunter game later this year. And even you fight again, you fight Electro, and then you also fight Carnage. And the levels are so much shorter. Also, in the second game, like in the first game, there were some levels I was like, damn, this is kind of long. It's like these levels are kind of like outstaying their welcome. And the one thing that the first game does much better than the second game is stealth. In the first game, you can like be in the ceiling and just like pick every enemy like from everywhere. It's so funny that you can like stealth your way through that game. In the second game, the stealth was nerfed. Like you actually have to get much closer to enemies to do that. Combat is literally the same. And web swinging, I would say it's better in the second game because the first game had that web swinging that is swinging from the sky. Like even though you still had to be like close to a building to do the animation, but it felt like your web was like going through the sky. And this one you actually have to be beneath a building. And this is the only Spider-Man game where to swing you have to do both triggers. Like if you want to swing to your right, press R2. If you want to swing to the left, press L2. And it was an interesting quirk that obviously that wasn't continued when Insomniac did it theirs. They went back to more traditional. You just web swing with one, and that was like one of the only interesting things about Amazing Spider-Man 2. And kind of what I was telling you was that there was a really equally fun game in the second game that then just absolutely falls apart in its last chapters because this absolutely felt like a game they were working on the side, and then they were like, no, you're gonna make it a movie game, and then they just attacked on Green Goblin and Electro like out of nowhere. And then they were like, oh yeah, but that doesn't feel like a nice ending point. Let's make the ending of this game Carnage. Even though there's no Venom here, we're just jumping straight to Carnage. And then the game just ends. So I was like, yeah, the game is not as bad as people say, but it's definitely not a great Spider-Man game either. But I don't think the first one is either. It's just back in 2012, that was one of the better ones in that really dark period of Spider-Man games. So it's just like it's just basically relativity. So I was glad that I was hankering because I was playing those old ones and I just wanted to play all the Vinox games again before retaking my playthrough of the 2018 one. At least I don't have the baggage of like, I wish I could finish that one before jumping into this one, because you know me that I like working my way backward forward, not forward backward. Because because working forward backwards just ensures that you're just not gonna enjoy making your way backwards because of quality of life,
back and back.
Yeah. So and then I got lucky again. I got Transformers War for Cybertron, a sealed copy of the game on PS3. I found it for $35 in a random store on Sunday. And I was like, I'm liking this energy. Like, it took me so long to find Amazing Spider-Man. I found it, and then suddenly, after I've been scrounging the earth for this one, I got it. And the fact that it was a sealed copy was insane. To think that 13 years that thing had remained, someone had it. And how little people cared about that game, like, relative, like, that it was able to remain unsealed copy here. But
I know, right?
Yeah, so I played like the first chapter of that game because the thing is that I had played it in the computer because remember I got a computer version like a couple of months ago. The thing is that I hate PC gaming, Paul. I just hate it. Like if I have to play PC, like it means that I have to be in the seat and play it in like this tiny screen when I could be playing it in my big screen. But then it means if I want to play it on a big screen, I have to take out a very long HDMI cable, connect it to my computer, but then I have to get my Wi-Fi mouse to try to like if I want to do some changes, because sometimes you cannot do changes with a controller to switch some things. It's just too much of a hassle that I was like, I would rather just play like the normal, even if I'm technically playing a worse version, because remember people, PS3 back in the day was not the best platform to play multi-platform games compared to the 360. 360 was the way to go. PS3 was the way to go for exclusives. And the random third-party game here and there. Like Dead Space 2 was better to play on PS3 because it came in one disc. Both games look exactly the same. On 360 it was 2 discs. Final Fantasy 13, the game looked better on PS3. On 360, it came in 3 discs and it was blurrier. So, which ironic that right now the modern way to play Final Fantasy 13 is actually on Xbox, because that game got a resolution patch because of Microsoft. So it's so funny to think that. But yeah, Transformers vs. Cybertron, Paul, is like, it's so much fun. It's such a fun shooter. Like, even though it's not cover based, it's like, it's so unapologetically fun. And like, I really love like the character models that are modeled by, and the G1 like original Transformers cartoon. Like, if you watch the Transformers movie from 1986 with the legendary death of Optimus Prime and the "You Got the Touch" song, is like, those character models are from this game, are literally in this game. One of the things that I would say doesn't really hold up is the visual variety, Paul. It's a very, I wouldn't call it ugly, but my god, the environment, the environment variety of that Transformers game is like, gets boring real quick, really, because it's like all this metal and all that. They actually fixed that for Fall for Cybertron. They actually added more lush scenery in some places, and a little bit more color, because that was like one of the bigger complaints of the original game. But I tell you, remember when we heard about Hasbro actively saying like, hey, those Transformers games that we put out, the War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron, we will love them for them to be on Game Pass, especially because Microsoft is gonna own Activision. It's like, these seems like games that would work for that system. Like, we definitely want to work on those. I hope it happens, and when that happens, I hope that they turn the servers back on, because this campaign, Paul, can be completed entirely in co-op. That's the beauty of that first War for Cybertron game. Like, if you had a friend like to play online, you could play, like, you pick one of the 3 Transformers, depending if you're playing Decepticons or the Autobots. I'm right now playing the Decepticons because I'm doing the order, even though you can like start with the Autobots if you want, even though that's like chapter 6. At least they give you the option. If you don't want to like start like playing as Decepticons, is basically prequel, and then to play as Optimus Prime, like Bumblebee and them, is like, that's chapter 6, but you can start immediately if you want to start playing with the good guys. It had that level of flexibility, but the servers have been turned off. Like, even on a PS3, like, I try to be like, I wonder if anyone's randomly play, but it's like, yeah, the servers are like unavailable. I was like, yeah, I figured they turned those off.
Yeah.
But I believe that, especially now, once that Activision thing goes through, like, if they're able to work things out to bring those games back to a willing party, because the problem with licensed products sometimes is that the willing party doesn't want to play, like, or they don't want to do terms for something. Or, for example, do you remember this game called 50 Cent Blood in the Sand? There was like a 50, yes, which was basically 50 Cent Gears of War game. That game is a licensing nightmare because of the music. That game cannot be played backwards compatibility digitally. But if you have the disc, they were able to work out a licensing deal with like the game developer to be able to like enable that game to be played on current Xbox. So if you have the disc, you're like lucky. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Like, it's people were thinking maybe that's how they could make this Transformers game work. To be like, yeah, if you still have the disc, you'll be able to play it and all that. But since Hasbro, which has the license, is the one actively saying we want this to happen, maybe that could be different. So let's just cross fingers, because these are awesome games. These Transformers games are awesome. After the Arkham Asylum in that generation, I think these were the best licensed games around in that era. So
yeah, and I picked it up on a whim. Wait, what year did War for Cybertron come out?
2010.
Okay, so that was a year after. Yeah, because Arkham Asylum was 2009, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that was the same year as Borderlands 1. Yeah, that was... Mm-hmm. Even though that was like on the back end of the crazy golden year insanity that was 2007, I think it was. It was still such a crazy time where you could just make this really, like, in theory, derivative third-person Gears of War ripoff. Yeah. Just add Transformers. But the fact that it was just really solid. Yeah. And you are right that, like, War for Cybertron gets really old with its environmental assets. It's like just, all right, you're in another metal-encased zone, lots of geometry, lots of blurry everything, but a few things glow. All right. And it actually breaks my heart to admit that I never actually played Fall of Cybertron.
You never played the sequel? No.
I never did. For some reason, I ended up not getting it until way later on. I mean, no, I still don't own it. I didn't have the opportunity to buy it until later after its release, and by then I was playing so many other games.
Yeah.
My mind had been transformed in 2011 by everything else that had come out, and I was like, "Well, I don't want to go back to it."
The thing is, Fall of Cybertron came out in 2012 because it came out 2 years later.
After 2011, for some reason, like something changed in my brain. After playing games like Skyrim and whatever else came out in 2011.
2011 is a massive year. The original Dark Souls, Uncharted 3, Gears of War 3, Halo Anniversary Collection, Rage. It's like 2011 was insane. I will never forgive that year as long as I live. It's like that was like one of the most insane like final years of a console. So like just in volume alone.
That was why, because I was buying so many other games and I was like, oh, so this is what it really means, that like play a good game. Because before that I was still just kind of buying whatever looked cool on the cover, whatever, didn't even look up reviews.
Yeah. What's so funny is that there's so many analogs in 2023 to 2011 in some way. Like Skyrim came out in 2011, Starfield comes out in 2023. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword came out in 2011. Tears of the Kingdom came out this year.
Gosh.
Modern Warfare 3 2011. This year, Modern Warfare 3 also. So it's like it's so funny to really think about like that some of the analogs to that. But Fall for Cybertron, I never bought at launch because that was the month it came out in August 2012 was when I moved to college, and that entire semester I had no consoles. Like that was my first like semester where I went away from home. I didn't bring a console with me because I was going to go study. Then I started making I started working that semester to make some money, and then I got a console, a $99 Xbox 360, one of those like weird deals that Microsoft was doing late in that generation until my second semester. But Fall for Cybertron like completely skipped me. I had heard great things, just equally great things as War for Cybertron. They did eliminate campaign co-op though. Because they made the campaign more scripted, more like tailored to a specific transformer, and they also added the Dinobots. So there was gonna be like some sections where you played as Dinobots, and these sections were like more wide open because you could transfer into the big dinosaur and all of that. So, and it was like more linear how you did, because in this one, again, kind of like I mentioned, it's like you get the two campaigns like right off the bat. Do you want to start with the Decepticons? Do you want to start immediately with the Autobots? That doesn't happen with Fall for Cybertron. It's more like the game automatically switches you back and forth in specific story moments. So the problem with doing that is that you only get to play as Optimus Prime and Megatron at the end. So in this one, you can play almost all the levels with them. So, but it made the game a little bit less monotonous than the original at the very least, and it still had escalation, which was basically horde mode and the multiplayer. But at that point, I actually got it on PS4 because they randomly re-released it in 2016 digitally. So I bought it then alongside the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 and Deadpool games that Activision randomly decided to list for the PS4. And obviously they delisted now, but I still own them, thankfully. So, but it was always like me, I let go of my original War for Cybertron disc back in 2016 because I needed money to pay for my work permit. And I sold the PS3 that I had randomly bought in 2013. It was one of those, remember the top loader PS3? It was like one that is like the new Slim that had like a thing that the slider. I bought one of those in July 3rd, 2013. My own PS3 because my brother had our collective one back home, but I wanted a PS3, so I sold that one. That was the last
model they made, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is the last one and the last one you can get. So it was so practical. It was so small. The top loader was cheap AF though. It was like so. The Slim, like the second model of the PS3 was the best one. Like
that's the one that I got.
Yeah, that's the one I have here still. So the one that I still have to plug in, because there's some games are still there that until I hear otherwise, like they're gonna be ported over. Like I'm gonna keep that thing plugged in. But yeah, it's so sad that these were the last games that High Moon Studios made like as a game. That and Deadpool, their last ever game they made was Deadpool, the 2013 Deadpool game. That literally played like the Transformers games. It had the exact same gunplay. It had the exact same camera. It had the humor. It had Nolan North doing doing the.
I watched a lot of clips of that game, but I never had a desire to actually buy it myself.
Yeah, I tell you, it was super fun. ending sucked ass. It was like it's one of those Raven's Peak / Remnant 2 style, like horrifically frustrating final moments that soured the package. But that was the last game that made before Activision decided to make them like Call of Duty slaves and like slave away at like doing support at all these things. And eventually they also worked on Destiny content for Destiny 2. Like High Moon actually worked a lot on
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like before the split, the Activision Bungie split, High Moon, they attribute a lot of the Forsaken campaign to High Moon. So, which it's so funny because we got to play one of those missions again this week. We're gonna talk about Destiny 2 a little later.
Yeah.
But yeah, Transformers is really good. But the best thing that I would say I played this week was because I finally slayed a unicorn for me. A gaming unicorn I had for many years, and I never knew if I was going to be able to beat it because time passed me by. I didn't know if I was going to do a turn-based game, but this year turn-based has turned the corner for me. I beat Final Fantasy VII. Like, completely. I lapped you. I lapped Zhang Yu.
Congratulations.
Yes. And
you've done it.
It pains me to think that you were so close. You were that close to beating it. Yeah, it's like, it's so dumb that...
Can you at least understand, though, the fact that they gave you no direction out of that? Just said...
Yes, they just literally said...
Yeah,
where the sun doesn't shine. Where does the sun doesn't shine? The ocean. So...
Yeah, like, in hindsight, sure. But, like, you could go metaphorical. You could say, well, there's caves. I don't know. You have the entire world that you've just traveled.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that me out of a whim, I was like... because I thought, okay, they gave me this ocean mechanic because you get the sub, like, eventually, that you can use to travel, but it's like, why would you travel with the sub when you have the high wind? So, but then I kept thinking, it's like, they have this mechanic, and they trained me to use the sub for a reason, so let's see. And I went down there and I started exploring, and I randomly found that key, and that was it. So
funny.
It was so funny. Like, I didn't do I didn't have to use a guide as much with Final Fantasy VII as I did with 6 and 4. Because obviously they were older, but I think I got the logic of this game a little bit more. Though not using a guide prevented me from seeing a pivotal cutscene that I didn't think was there until you told me. I was like, wait, that's skippable? That's insane that this is skippable. But also kind of cool that it's like a hidden thing. Because the game doesn't at all tell you, be like, oh yeah, now that your memories are back, go back to the Shinra mansion. So... and the only way that could happen is if for some reason you didn't get Vince Valentine. Because you can get Vince Valentine immediately as you can. But I can imagine a scenario because to get Vince Valentine, you have to beat a really hard boss. After you do like a save, like puzzle. And you can find that immediately when you go to Nibelheim again, like on the present. Or if eventually figure it out, you go back. Maybe that's the only time that you could like stumble upon that. But I got Vincent immediately. And I looked up how to get Vince Valentine. That's one of the few things that I just want to get that. And how do you get Yuffie? Yeah. And with Yuffie, that you have to find Yuffie.
Yuffie is a freaking nightmare of a human being, I tell you.
She's an amazing...
I hate her so much.
She's an amazing party member. Like... I hate her side
usefulness. Yes, I will agree to that.
Yeah, but her side quest is the worst. That she steals all your materia, and you have to play hide and seek in Wutai. So I was like, nah, I'm gonna use a guide for this because I need to speed through this. Like, this is annoying. Because I went there because I was like, I've visited everywhere in the map, but I'm seeing the maps has this dot over here. Let me go visit there. I want to see. And then I saw, I was like, oh crap, and I didn't have a save. Like, I didn't save right before, so I was like,
you had to commit to it.
So I committed to that, so I did it quickly. However, it led to the moment where you actually kill Don Corneo. So, the dude that you threatened to castrate at the beginning of the game.
I don't even remember most of that. I just remember hating that part with Yuffie so much. Yeah. So I don't know if I managed to avoid the side quest entirely, or I did it and just blocked it out of my memory.
The thing with Yuffie is that Yuffie is it's like absolutely optional. Like, you can only find Yuffie if you're like by the
she's
reactor.
Like a random encounter.
Yeah, she's a random encounter in the forests near the reactor that has the big phoenix at the top. The one that I mentioned last week about the tower defense minigame. Like, you can only find her if you randomly like start like circling around in the forests. And then when you beat her, you have to like talk to her. And you have to say some specific things in a specific order for her to join you. So I used to.
Because if you don't,
she'll just
she'll
go away,
act like she's gonna join your team. There's one of them. She'll act like she joins your team,
and she
and then
steals
she
something.
disappears and she
Yeah.
steals stuff from you. I
Yeah.
was
So,
like, I hate this because I didn't look it up until after that had happened, or
yeah.
like the details of it, and I was just,
Yeah.
young Paul was not happy.
Yeah, but she's such a great like. What's funny is that she's so annoying, but as her usefulness, like her limit breaks are super cool. And she's like the only ninja in your team, and ninjas are really cool in like Final Fantasy. It just happens to be Yuffie. And what's so funny is that everyone universally hates her, and they love her in Intergrade. Because everyone, when they announced Intergrade she was gonna be playable, everyone was like, of all characters that you're doing an expansion, why are you using Yuffie? And then people play Intergrade and they're like, oh crap, they made her great. That's what I've been telling. That now I can't wait to play like and actually see it for myself. But
yeah,
I had said before, yes, like last week I said I prefer Final Fantasy 6 and 4 over this game. After finishing it, I prefer 7 over 4. I still prefer 6, but 7 has such 6 energy in so much of it that you saying that this game picks in Midgar, I partially disagree. That this game picks in Midgar. Like the best things of this game, like in story moments and all that, happened in that middle to late section.
I think it just goes to show my liking of aesthetic is very much on the city side of it, and I am not a fan of like the village thing.
Yeah, I can see aesthetically the game peaking early on, but like to me, like that I like a grand adventure with so much variety, knowing that you had this grand adventure on top of like the cyberpunkian Midgar, that added extra flavor to this game, and I really enjoyed that. But just a story moment, like just story moments alone, this game ramps so beautifully. But to me, the game really clicked when I finally stopped playing as Cloud. Like when he has the big moment, like for spoiler alert for people that never played the original one. It's like eventually there's like a big reveal, the moment where the villain quote unquote wins, the Kafka moment, how I like calling. Where it's like you get the reveal that Cloud is like a clone of Sephiroth, was made like in a lab by Hojo and all of that, and that explains kind of like why he's been having like this mental breakdowns like early in the game and all of that, and then he goes on like he gets lost in a coma, and then you start playing as the entire team afterwards, and that to me was like, this is Final Fantasy to me. Like what I love is because it's like not just centered on like one character, but everyone like equally playing an important part. And especially like you start as Tifa, and then eventually like it segments out to Barrett, and then settling on Sid. Right, like and the funny thing is that Sid for me was like, I got him, but I didn't put him in the whatchamacallit in my team at all, like because I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, because
by
I was
that
like,
point you have
I recruited.
Like, you only have 3 people to choose from, and you've already got like your rotation usually. Because that was my issue as well.
Yeah, because it was like I got Vincent early. Vincent is OP. Like Vincent reminds me a lot of like
his
this
limit
like
break is nuts.
Yeah, he becomes like a big demon that like throws like these grenades and like automatically, and you don't have to even worry about giving him commands. You just like let him do his thing. So as I was like, yeah, I'm keeping Vincent, and I always had Tifa most of the time because I really like Tifa. Like I really like her limit break with the double punch and the somersault, because it was very easy to like command, and I just kind of wanted to just keep that relationship between like Cloud and Tifa like close, because I just felt that they were meant to be together, which is so funny. I sent you a screenshot. It was like they have the Clive and Jill moment near the end of the game, like under the stars. It's so funny. So it was like, huh. It's like that was even a reference to this. So cute and funny. And Tifa, like best girl, she really stands by Cloud during his coma time. Like you use her to like recover his mind and all of that. So, but then like in that time where you stop playing as Tifa because she stays with Cloud, when you find him in the wheelchair, like he's like spazzing and all that, Sid becomes like your main dude. And I tell you, this Sid, Paul, has become like one of my all-time favorite characters. First, like it's so funny. Like his vibe is so relatable. Like this dude that had his dream crushed over trying to like to do the hard thing, and I think he will be able to get like his dream back in. And then when you mix it with his incredible theme, the one that I was like, dude, as soon as something like really like clicked with me when I started hearing his song, like when we were in the rocket, and just like that scene where with that theme playing, and he's saying you leave him behind, and Cloud being like, I'm not leaving another friend behind and all that. I was like, I feel like I want to give like a salute to this. It's like, he's so cool. And then he has like a really amazing speech about like, I thought the going to this outside the planet was going to send me into the grandeur of life, and then realizing the planet is just such a small thing in a vast universe, and knowing that there's evil inside here, and it's like our planet is like a kid that that has to be taken care of, and who's going to take care of that? It's going to be us. I was like, God, like this cantankerous 30-year-old like Sid is like such an inspiring character. I was like, God, it's like I really that was the moment where I was like, I like this more than 4. That was like the moment when that happened. The rocket scene happened, and all of that. I was like, yeah, I do like this more, and really great ending. I would say it's so funny how ambiguous the ending kind of is, because it just fast forwards like at the end. So a lot, and I understand where Advent Children came from. Apparently, they just they wanted. They both saw the popularity of 7 still even after 8 and 9 were done. And even 10, because that's the thing. Advent Children came out after 8, 9, and 10 were out in the market, but because they put them in Kingdom Hearts, like those get like Sephiroth and Cloud were in Kingdom Hearts. Like you had everything in Yuffie also, and Sid. That version of Sid is also in Kingdom Hearts. So it's like I think they intentionally, by including those characters in Kingdom Hearts, they were nudging into the popularity a little bit more, because it's like we're including this, even though we're also including Leon, Squall, or whatever the however you call the Final Fantasy VIII.
Leonhardt.
Squall Leonhardt.
He goes by Squall in all of the rest of Final Fantasy VIII, but in Kingdom Hearts, he's Leon. My name is Leon.
Yeah,
Alright, buddy.
Yeah, so you have Leon there. Even though there's also Final Fantasy X like characters from the very first Kingdom Hearts when you're in Destiny Island, and then in Kingdom Hearts 2. This finally clicked with me after like really like the ninja dude with like the broken arm that Hades brings back up. That's from that's from Final Fantasy X. Yeah, so it's like he's one of your first. He's the character that introduced you to the combat. Yeah, so it was like that didn't click with me when I played Kingdom Hearts 2 back in 2018, and now that I'm playing it, because I did try Final Fantasy X briefly. I have it installed because that was before I went into this whole madness that has just been me playing all these games now. So, but the 7 cast is just iconic. That's just fact. There is a reason why 7 is so long lasting. And I tell you, Paul, Rebirth, most anticipated game from here on out right now. And whenever that third game is now. Because I need to see, like, I am now anxious because now I've seen the story from beginning to end. I need to know where they cut. Yeah, I need to know where they cut. Like,
that's
going to be agonizing. Yeah, that's going to be agonizing.
Change, I will give it, like, I think when I said that it peaks in the early spots, I think I agreed with you with it being aesthetic and not story, because the story reveals, like, granted, it's one of those, like, you've kind of grown up, you know the plot twist because it's
you know Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's like Final Fantasy VII is that kind of like cultural like thing that even if you've never played this game, you know some of those things, because it's like this game was important. This game was like a massive step for 3D gaming, like back in 1997. That's why like this game is so seminal. So that's why you know some of those things. But yeah, like the story immediately gets so much cooler after Midgar. To be fair to them fleshing out Midgar like they did with Remake, that's actually pretty impressive, because it's like it's a bunch of nothing early on. Like in OG7, it's like it's just setup. But they were able to make a full thing, even though it's a little stretch at times. Like, it still feels like a complete product. Even though they threw the Fate nonsense at the end of that game. To then settle to be like, oh no, yeah, they haven't shackled themselves from their previous Fate. So, it makes me really curious to see how much that unshackling is. Because we saw the trailer at Summer Game Fest this year. And there's so many iconic moments. That was like, when I was playing, I was like, Leo the Carpet is like, I remember that from the trailer. The introduction of like when they the introduction of Elena, like Sephiroth throwing a different Genova at them, and all of that. Like the seeing Junon, which is like, yes, like I remember Junon from Crisis Core. I remember seeing it there. Now seeing it in this fidelity is like super cool. The planetarium scene, which is one of the coolest scenes in the game, and in Final Fantasy VII, like when you go to Red 13's mountain, and you find his grandfather. Budengagen or whatever the character's
Yeah, I
called.
don't remember.
So like they explain you about like this is what the stars are, like what a planet does when it's like feels threatened and all that, and the things about the live stream is like they show that clip in the trailer, and they also showed the reunion. When all these zombie clones or like her hooded are like all reuniting, that we're trying to get into Genova. It's like that's in the trailer, so at least I know what's gonna be covered. It's a lot that's gonna be covered. So
yeah.
And the fact that, to me, the most mind-blowing thing was the Aerith moment was the end of disc 1. When that happened, I was like, I was under the impression, Paul, that Midgar was disc 1. And then as soon as you were done with Midgar, disc 2 you would put in to get the rest of the game. That
Honestly,
blew my
I couldn't remember the exact details, excuse me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it makes almost a little more sense because of how little Midgar really is in the original. That you think more of it gets covered in the later portions, but
now I understand the consternation there was in the lead up to remake when they were saying that Midgar was all there was. Because the people that had played this game originally, and they knew how much there was once you got out of Midgard, like going to Karn, going to Costa del Sol, which I felt so heartwarming because we have a beach here called Costa del Sol, because it's just basically that means a sun beach. It's like it's such a generic, but it's just so funny. It's like that we had that name here, so I was like, I do wonder how they came out with that name for the like at this moment. So, and there's just so many scenes that I want to see how they do in Rebirth. I want to see how the Golden Saucer happens. I want to see how the date with a significant other happens. Also, I want to see if there's a if there's still like random BS, like, oh yeah, you're in this excavation part, like you have to use this screw to find like a lunar harp to get into the city of the ancients. Do you remember that? Like to get to the place where it's like you have to like dig up a harp, and the only way to do it is that you have to randomly put a bunch of workers to put bombs, and then they're gonna like look into the direction where they know a thing is. Yeah, it's like I got so close to using a guide there and randomly found the lunar harp. So that's before like the big Aerith moment that everyone knows, and we already saw a clip of that thing being done in remake because they flash forward to that like early on, like you see like when she drops the materia, like that is in remake already. So it's like I remember like there were so many people that were big fans of 7. They started crying when they were streaming the game, and they saw it because it was like, oh my god, it's like seeing that in that fidelity. It's gonna be nuts.
And we're going to get a lot of insanity. That's for sure.
I tell you, I can't wait. Final Fantasy 7 has been so great, and now I started 8. So, but very early. I'm still in the training session, so it's like I have no opinion on that one. But I went and finished Atlas Fallen. Yesterday I was like, I played a little bit of Immortals of Haven. We're gonna talk a bit about that a little later. But I was like, I don't want to be as irresponsible with the purchases this year like I was last year. I think I beat in everything we bought this year, thankfully, because last year we went through the post Elden Ring. Like when we bought a bunch of those games, we didn't beat a lot of those. So this year has been much better. But also reviewing helped me like concentrate. And I feel that was the key because I was reviewing a bunch of these games. It actually forced me to focus. When I have no that commitment, it's so easy to bounce around. That's why like it took me until now to beat Atlas Fallen. But my criticisms and praises of that game remain. The combat is great. It gets so much better even later. But story-wise, I stopped caring. Like this is one of the first few times that I've tuned out the story so thoroughly. I was skipping all dialogue, and I even did this. I turned the master volume off of like the game, went to the Spotify app of the PlayStation, and I looped Sid's theme, the Sid theme and I played that for the rest of the game, and that's how I took it all the way to the final boss. And I tell you, it worked so well. I enjoyed the game so much more just like setting a specific parameter for myself. Like I know what I'm enjoying. I'm not gonna waste my time trying to understand this lore because like I feel I'm lured out with this kind of like fantasy land with gods and all of that. Is like that's, and I think this that compelling, and I beat it and I deleted it, and that's all I can say is like this was a McDonald's meal. It was like this would have worked. I tell you, if this game had come out in 2022, I would have loved it so much more because there was nothing to play back then. Like this kind of game in this year of all years, like you feel the just having one really good thing. Now I just said it's not enough. So, and Immortals of Avium is kind of there, like in that similar, like it kind of like in a similar ballpark. I like the concept. I'll say, like, I do like the idea of like a first-person magic game that's like kind of like has some Call of Duty style set piece moments and flow with a little RPG thrown here and there. But I feel that concept is kind of like being dragged down a little bit by visuals that go from this actually looks really pretty to oh my god, this looks bland, and what is this uncanny valley shit? Like these faces look, they go from really good to hideous in like the like animation. And I was like, oh man, and the dialogue, it's like we're talking about Marvel dialogue like back in like when Forspoken was coming out. This is that, and I would say it's even worse because at the very least Forspoken was like it embraced the cringiness of its character, the isekai, that I feel that pulled me through. This one is like everyone was like all happy-go-lucky in this thing that I'm like, I don't feel like I'm connecting with this like characters, at least at this moment. But combat seems fun. I know the game's short. I think I'm definitely gonna see it through. Like I know that it's reviewing soft in like the 70s right now. Scale Up recommended it as a palate cleanser, and I can kind of see that. Like I like myself some palate cleansers. I wonder if I want to do this palate cleanser now because a big game is literally coming out in 6 hours from where we're recording. Which also got his review embargo lifted and is reviewing really great. Not as great as their game last year, but it's still pretty. It's reviewing as well as Final Fantasy 16. So yeah, that's already good company, and that's enough of good company there. And that game's also a kind of game we haven't played in a while. Obviously, we're talking about Armored Core 6. So you played a little bit more of Immortals of Avium because I was like finishing Final Fantasy 7 and Atlas Fallen. So
I did.
You had a few. I feel you lowered my excitement seeing something, but I was like, I came out higher. I was like, I want to hear more. Like, what's stopping you?
So, I don't hate it. They really try to hit you with the arcane prologue, which is like, oh, we're a scrappy band of thieves. We're young and lovable, and it's like one of us really wants to join the military. Nothing can go wrong. And I was like, all right, just come on, get this over with, guys. Let's go. I almost would have preferred if they had just started him as like a recruit in the military. I wasn't vibing with that startup at all. However, it was gorgeous art direction. The way like you had the whole shantytown built into the side of that bridge, I was like, yes, pristine.
That's the thing. Like where visually it's like yes, like I can feel that. Yeah. It's just
I give it that much. It's really just the facial expressions, because instantly, like of course the dude just talks exactly like you said, and I never like to liken it to the whole Whedon-esque style as much as just kind of step even further back, because that kind of style was great until all of a sudden it wasn't. And I used to eat that kind of dialogue up.
Same.
And then
everyone
just
did.
Like, yeah. It's funny because I liken the main character's look in the prologue to Jim Hawkins in Treasure Planet.
God damn it, you're so right. Yes.
Just immediately like
this game has that vibe. There's a lot of Treasure Planet vibes. A lot with like how characters move around and characters like interact.
I do love the Magitech like airships and stuff, and like everything about the actual world, not the world building or the lore. I don't really care as much about that side of it, but like the implementation of like the really cool designs for everything, 10 out of 10. It's just the fact that it kind of wraps in this really boring storyline with characters I don't really engage with at all.
You didn't give a crap about.
Not in the slightest. I don't really like the designs for the gauntlets either. They're just really overdone. I don't like the crazy like metal things sticking off in every direction. But that's more of a personal thing, so I don't want to fault it for that side of it, because some people really vibe with that. Second thing is that there's only 3 weapons that you can really use. There's like variations, and you can change a few things about it. But
I was gonna ask, is that it, or is there more? Because I had heard otherwise, but we'll see. So
to be fair, you can alter. They're always going to be red, green, or blue.
Okay, but there's variations within those.
You can change an upgrade. So like the shotgun, for instance, the fire one, you can change it into kind of like a grenade, like a grenade launcher almost.
Mm-hmm.
So it fires like a condensed piece that goes forward first and then explodes. So it gives you more range. It kind of changes the vibe, but overall, you're going to want to pick whatever's more useful anyway as you progress the story.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you get like a better version of the shotgun that I didn't see in the short time that I was playing, then it's like, well, you might as well just keep trading up to a different method. And then I just wasn't a huge fan of certain aspects. Let me think. I was already getting a little bit bored of the like reuse of enemies.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been done a little bit faster. But
Also,
overall, it's like,
just real quick, are you playing a lot of this game in your small TV? The pink thing that you
did
that
I
you
ever
mentioned?
play it on the big one? I probably most of it, if not all of it, is on the small TV. But it's
Because
like,
you mentioned me that this is one of the first few times where motion blur actually messed you up.
because it's not able to be turned off.
Uh-huh.
I
And
looked through the options on it and it drives me insane.
yeah, the thing is that there's no like fidelity or performance mode like toggle either in this game. It's like it's just like the game is what it is.
The
And
only thing on display is your brightness, I think, and that's
yeah,
it.
yeah, and the thing is that depending on your TV, some TVs handle motion blur really well. Mine does. Like that wasn't a problem. But I know other TVs that don't handle a game's motion blur really well. So that's why I was wondering, is he
I
playing?
haven't had
like, small
any
TV?
issues with motion blur before now, because usually I do keep it on, just because I don't really care that much about motion blur. So it's kind of surprising that I hated it this time.
I actually love motion blur because it's like I've seen so many games without it that are jittery when you're moving, and motion blur just helps smooth out an image. So, but there's some people that absolutely hate motion blur. So, I appreciate some games that let you turn off. In fact, Final Fantasy 16 is a game that they patched in to be able to turn motion blur off. I tried it in, and I was like, you know what? I already like the look of this game in motion blur. Like, that's not a problem for me.
Because it's well implemented.
Yeah.
I've seen what happens when
however, I went to a friend's house that he was also playing Final Fantasy 16. He had motion blur on, and in his TV, I was like, something's off. I don't remember this being off. So I think it varies from TV to TV. Like,
I don't even remember if I turned off motion blur or not. Did the patch come out recently?
It came out around the time that after we were done with the spoiler cast.
Okay, so I would have played it all with motion blur on. So that means, because I only complained about it in like the prologue playing on the smaller display. After that, I had no issues. So
again, it's like it's a display to display thing, depending on the hertz of a TV. Like if they implement interpolation well, things like that. It's a lot of weird technical mumbo jumbo. It's just something I wanted to ask you if you were able to try that game in the big TV, because you have a TV with a high refresh rate, because you have the possibility to play some games in 120 frames. Not everything, because they're not. You have to specifically pick a high performance mode if a game allows it for you to actually see 120 frames. Like you were very confused with that, but the panel itself is 120 hertz already. So that alone helps better with like interpolation just by default, because it has a lot of hertz already at its disposal to kind of aid with things, even though a game is not running at that thing. So that's what I was wondering if you got to try that, because when you said that, I was like, he's probably playing in an old TV where motion blur just sucks ass. So that's why I was wondering. So
that's what you mean.
So are you gonna try to beat this one, or how much have you played? Like how much have you seen you play?
So there's a forest area. I did all the training stuff, and like your first real mission, you go into this cave, following up with this cult or something. It's like, oh, it's the hand of something or whatever. I think it's just called the hand. And they're like, all right, go investigate. And I go in, and I was hunting through, shooting a bunch of dudes and whatever. And then at a certain point, there was a flashback, or you get called back and you're talking to... Oh, Lord. No, never mind. I think I was still in the middle of it. And yeah, I was checking out super hard. So I was like, I'm just going to go play something else. And that's when I went and played the other game that we'll talk about during our news section. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about Immortals of Aveum. It's just, if it had come out another time, I would have been like, it's all right. But as
Exactly.
it is, I would much
Yeah,
rather play
yeah.
other
Both
things with my
Atlas Fallen
limited
and
time.
this, yeah, both Atlas Fallen and Immortals are victims of time right now. This was supposed to be a July game. Hearing
Yeah.
all of this, like, unless it was like mess technically, if they could have been able to release this in July, I think that would have, like, look, Remnant had a good time to shine by releasing in July, like with some good separation. So, uh, but I would say, like, from what little I played, I do like Immortals more than I like Atlas Fallen, because at least in concept, it's much cooler. Atlas Fallen, I feel I played that game a million times before. So, and in a year where I've seen those kinds of games sometimes be so much better, like going back to this one is like, yeah, this would have worked so much better, like not with what is surrounding it. But I'm definitely gonna see more of Avium. So, but these were two games that I committed to review because we never got caught again, like on season gaming, like parameters, like we don't have to review games if we don't want to. I definitely just want to see this through. But Armored Core is literally today, so I definitely want to see. Maybe it's too hard for me, and then I'll just keep playing Avium. We'll see. But
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, the big one's next week also. So it's like we're just so busy, and I love that. But this other game, we're gonna talk it in the news, Paul. Press X.
For some news.
Story number 1 by Les Little Blanc over at Game Informer. Destiny 2, Bungie pulls back the curtain on the Final Shape expansion and Season of the Witch. We've known for a while now that Destiny 2 developer Bungie has been bringing players closer and closer to the end of the War of Light and Darkness. Now, the studio has formally unveiled the Final Shape, the expansion concluding this decade-long story arc, and it launches on February 27, 2024. Bungie says in the Final Shape, Guardians will confront their ultimate adversary, the Witness, alongside companions from their years of adventures in Destiny 2, like Ikora Rey, Commander Zavala, and Kate 6, who has somehow returned after dying in the game's Forsaken expansion. The Final Shape will take players right into the heart of the Traveler to end the War of Light and Darkness with the Vanguard. Bungie says a new raid will launch in March 2024, shortly after the release of the Final Shape. A new World First raids will accompany this raid beginning on launch day. During the campaign of the Final Shape, Guardians will explore a mysterious new destination, the Pale Heart, located inside the Traveler, a press release read. Shaped by the Witness but also influenced by the history and journey of the Guardians themselves, the Pale Heart destination will feature nostalgic callbacks from throughout the history of the Light and Darkness saga, including a version of the original tower from Destiny. Bungie says with the Pale Heart being the first linear destination in Destiny history, it would also gradually evolve. The expansion also includes 3 new super abilities and aspects forms: Void for Titans, Solar for Warlocks, and Arc for Hunter, each developed with team play in mind, Bungie says. Other additions to Destiny 2 include a new weapon subfamily called the Rocket Pistol Sidearm, and a new support frame auto rifle that can deal damage while healing allies. Classic weapons from the original Destiny and a new exotic fusion rifle will go live with the Final Shape. This expansion will include a new enemy type called Subjugators. They can use stasis and strand powers, making them a threat to all Guardians. Bungie also details some things coming to Destiny 2 over the next year, including episodes, which is the studio's new approach to seasonal content. The first episode is called Echoes, and it will begin in March 2024. The second is called Revenant, and the third is called Heresy, and together, these 3 episodes will detail the aftermath of the events of the Final Shape. They will also include more content and rewards than previous Destiny 2 seasons, according to Bungie. Thanks, dog. There are 3 editions of the Final Shape up for pre-order: a standard edition, a more premium version that includes the annual pass, and a third collector's edition that includes everything in the first 2, as well as a replica model of the original tower and more. Before we talk about Season of the Witch, Paul, what do you think of the things about the Final Shape? Now that we're 2 days removed, we did a Reacts, people. Our Reacts is live there. It's not doing as well as our previous Reacts, but we kept tradition and still react at the big Destiny showcases. So, what do you think? Now, like,
So,
after 2 days.
this is gonna sound so weird. I like the concept of it, and I hope that it continues the direction that I'm hoping it will, because they're kind of creating this anything burger where they're like, yeah, go into the Traveler and we could just add whatever the frick you want. You want like an old environment, you want an old level, you want an old boss of whatever. It's like you're making a lore reason for just throwing whatever the heck, excuse me, yeah, the heck you want at the wall and seeing what sticks. I mean, you could even throw in like freaking I don't know. You could just throw in Oryx for some reason. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's a mental projection of Oryx. Oh shoot, you gotta kill him. And
And
it's
they've already done that many times before with
yeah.
mental Oryx protection, I should tell you.
My gosh, I'm thinking about like taking King already. But anyway,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, you could just do a lot with that. And the fact that they made it very specific to bring back all of the previous, I keep wanting to say Titans, but they're
Uh,
Guardians. Jeez, I'm just so Titan mentality. I think everybody plays a Titan. So yeah, they're like all the Guardians show back up. You got all of the previous armor sets all the way back to the beginning. And I was telling you at the time, I was like, man, it would be awesome if they use like the original concept art armor or
mhm.
like the ones from the reveal, like really bring us full circle. I mean, we've already got Nathan Fillion as Cade Six
Mhm.
coming back. With our theories on why he's back and what that
Uh-huh.
might actually mean, where it's like, is it really him? Is it not? You don't
Mhm.
know, but yeah, it's got a lot of potential. After Lightfall was a really focused effort it seemed like it was going to be a focused effort on like one area.
Mhm.
Next step, big failure.
Mhm.
This might be their chance to kind of both step back and come forward with the next like real opportunity.
Yeah. I said it in the showcase reacts, and I'll repeat. It's like, this has not been a good year for Destiny, which has been sad because the Witch Queen entire year, even though the seasonal model started like croaking under like the repetitiveness of them doing the same format over and over and over again, the content we got in year 5 was amazing. And not even mention, just the expansion content alone was so great. The campaign, the raid, all of that. That they're riding such a high that Lightfall, unfortunately, is like, yeah, whenever we do Game of the Year, I want to do a category of who fumbled the bag this year, and I would say the one that fumbled the bag this year was Lightfall, because like, you
We're
don't
just talking
fumble.
about games in general.
Yeah, just in general, I feel like this game, like,
Ooh,
because he had it. Obviously, there's been worse games this year, but who
yeah,
fumbled the bag of
yeah,
of
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you had this served in a platter? Is like, you came with such great momentum. The ending of the final season before Lightfall started was so cool, with like the Traveler going into the sky, the Witness finally being here. It's like, in MCU terms, this was the Infinity War moment, and you fumbled your Infinity War moment by making it clear that it's like all the content that you put out this year has just been that you trying to give yourself more time, because the real thing that we should have been playing this year was this, because this was the original Lightfall version of things. Even like the like the way that the Witness cuts into the Traveler, it's like the Lightfall thing. Like, it was the Lightfall triangle that was revealed back in 2020. So it's like, it's just clear that they delayed what this expansion was, changed the name, but because they trademarked Lightfall, they quickly put together an expansion too, because they couldn't go a year without one. And we're seeing how that game suffered for that, with like a bad story, like just a nothing burger of things happening, like weird things, like the end, the death of Anna Bray, like, or the was it Anna Bray? I don't remember
It
what
was
the
the
name of the
death of
pilot, the
you're talking about
pilot.
Amanda Hudson?
Amanda Holiday, yeah,
Amanda Holiday.
and yeah, Anna Bray was like the robot. I forgot. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the death of Amanda Holiday being like so like sudden, and then like the story we got in Season of the Day was like the thing that would have made Lightfall like actually coherent, because it gave us an explanation why what we were doing in Lightfall was so important. So it's like, it's just clear that this year has just been them trying to like put pieces together, because they have been focused on this. Uh, I'm hoping this is great, but removed from the showcase, I would say, like, compared to the other showcases that we saw, like, and we reacted to 2 years ago, it does feel that they were holding back. They feel this felt like they didn't want to play all their cards too much, which it's a really crappy position to be in, because I feel you would have earned your silence if this last year had not been gone the way it's gone. You know what? You know what I mean? It's like, because I was like talking with our friend Duncan that if you remember the lead up to Avengers Endgame, we saw barely anything of that movie, even in trailers and all that. It's like they kept their cards close to the chest, because they knew that it was the end, and they wanted to surprise fans, like, by not seeing so much of that thing like in previews. And obviously then they blew they blew the doors wide open post release, and seeing a lot of the footage that we that was like they kept hitting. I feel they're trying to play that, but it's like, after a year where sentiment with the game has been low, I feel this showcase at least gives us a path towards positivity, but it wasn't a home run. Like, a lot of people didn't walk out of the showcase like as high as the last one, or kind of like this. Like last year, immediately we bought the $100 edition after that rifle showcase. Obviously, we were nudged by the fact that we got an auto rifle that's so damn good in it.
Yeah, that auto rifle was so good. I was like, I'll buy it now. It's fine.
Yeah, especially because it was like a different kind of looking auto rifle. We had not had also exotic auto rifles in like forever, so it was like a new kind of weapon that was like a pre-order bonus. I was like, you know what, we were gonna play back then. We're already in. It's like they got us in the bag. Like we know it. It's like this is our game. We're gonna keep committed. It's like let's just save money and commit now, because that way we don't have to pay for dungeon keys that come separate from like seasonal price. That was before they bumped the price slightly for the seasons now, because seasons used to be $10. Now they're like $12, but there's no $12 amount, so you have to buy $15 worth of silver to buy to buy a season, which has been like they were doing like some scummy moves on top of that. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it's like this was definitely the weakest showcase of the last three that we've seen. I feel like I didn't walk out not walk out super hyped, but I would say at the very least the season that launched around that same time, that's been a step in the right direction. Gonna continue the story. Season of the Witch. Alongside the reveal of the final shape, Bungie also detailed what Guardians can expect in Destiny 2's Lightfall Season of the Witch, launching that same day. In Season of the Witch, Guardians will continue their ongoing pursuit of the Witness and will confront all allies and enemies along the way, a press release reads. Savathun's ghost Imaro proposes a deal: aid in the resurrection of the Witch Queen and help defeat her sister Zebra. In exchange, Savathun will reveal the key to the portal through the Traveler, where the Witness is preparing to enact the final shape. Guardians will be able to harness arcane hive magic to help ally Ur's Morn transform into a hive god to fight against the Hive God of War. One key feature of Season of the Witch is the Deck of Whispers, which Bungie describes as a new method of player progression that allows Guardians to customize their loadouts and powers in new ways. By completing seasonal activities, players earn cards that can be used to build a customized deck, full of buffs and perks for certain activities, Bungie says. Players and fire teams have the option to carefully strategize which cards they bring along to maximize their battle effectiveness on each run. Season of the Witch includes several quality of life features, including timeline reflections. Bungie says these short playable missions are accessible through the timeline feature in the Director and offer brief narrative introductions and summaries of key narrative events in Destiny 2. The goal of timeline reflections is to catch new players up with the ongoing story and allow experienced players to relive moments from the game's past. 3 timeline reflections are available at the launch of the season: K6's final showdown with the Scorn from the Forsaken expansion, the debut of Stasis from Destiny 2's Beyond Light expansion, and the introduction of the Lucent Hive from the Witch Queen expansion. These missions will be available to all players for free. Beginning September 1st, Crota's End will go live as part of the Season of the Witch, with a new World's First rated for it as well. You can hop into the Witch Queen expansion for free this upcoming weekend from August 24th to August 27th. It will also be on sale for purchase from August 22nd to September 5th. The Witch Queen is also available right now for PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium members. So, we started playing the season, Paul. And I'll say this, out of the 3 seasons for a delightful year, this one definitely started the strongest. And why? The Witch Queen vibes are real. It's like, it reminds me, it's like, God, the Witch Queen was really cool, wasn't it? It's like, it felt more involved. It's like, it felt like you needed to use a little bit more of your brain to solve stuff. It was like so different to just they go here, kill stuff, go here, kill stuff, and all that. Them legit experimenting with the card system is like, at least it's us finally seeing they're finally innovating with a new kind of seasonal progression that as of this moment is not time gated, which is so cool, because by not time gating that kind of progression with those cards and all that, you feel like you have more to do at a certain season. The weapons, and still wait and see to see if I actually really love them. I like the Scout Rifle that I got, because it has like a new precision perk, and you usually want to do Sky Rifles to do perks, so it's like it synergizes really well with that. I got the exotic that came out though, like with the season pass with the boom shot grenade launcher. That's actually really, it's actually so cool.
It's
because
insane,
it's like,
honestly.
Yeah, it's just like, and thankfully it's not destroying PvP like I thought it was going to, like having a grenade launcher that you didn't have to reload that explodes and impact.
The damage by itself can't kill a Guardian with one shot.
So they got that right. They didn't get right what was happening with Warlock's aspect though, which is like,
yeah,
yeah. But I think what's been like fun has been like the vibes of this season are starting good. Our clan's back, like our clan that took a break to play other games, especially Diablo.
Yeah.
So not a good time for that last season launching the same month as the granddaddy of the looter genre, but definitely better vibes. I've seen myself playing this more. In fact, it's like I'm actually like intentionally yesterday I had that moment where I was like, do I finish Atlas Fallen or just go back to Destiny 2? I was like, nah, I wanna finish this game, and I'm glad that I did, because I was able to, because it's like when Destiny's addicting, it's like it's so easy to fall back into. It's like it's such amazing comfort food. It feels so good to play. Being reminded of that after we played Final Fantasy 14, that 14 is a better MMO, but what's a better playing game in that genre? Destiny. It's like that is their trump card. A gameplay feels so damn good.
I do have to give it to him that Destiny is just more fun to play than Final Fantasy 14. But yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah,
I'm glad that Destiny 2's new Season of the Witch season is doing a lot better. I love the exotic, because I don't think, for the seasonal exotics, I don't think I've liked any of them.
Recently, I'm trying to think, like last
one was the weird boat machine gun thing. Before that, there was
do you get the bow? Do you get the bow and arrow that was like stasis?
I did get the bow.
Okay,
I
just making sure.
Didn't really care for it. There was that electric sidearm. There was
There's Winter Bite. I don't think you ever got Winter Bite, which is what's like the big.
That wasn't one for the season though. That was
expansion. Yeah.
Right. Because it was apparently such a pain in the butt to get, and I was like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, you needed you needed to do the events like every day. Like you did an event that happened one day, and then you had to log in the next day to do that same event.
I'm not doing that. I learned my lesson from Red Dead Online. I am never doing something that requires me to log in every day, because it will work on me, and I will waste way too much time on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever get the strand sidearm? That is like that you can like charge it, and it's basically a Titanfall sidearm.
I don't remember.
Yeah, that was an expansion sidearm.
It even looked like.
Yeah, it was an expansion sidearm. It was really cool. Yeah, the expansion had cool exotics. I don't know if you ever got the void volatile like machine gun. That's part of like a quest for Nimbus. That was also from the expansion. So it's good vibes right now. Not the best vibes still, but I'm just can't wait to play more. I will say this fall, it was so funny because we did a raid bash. We talked about the raid bash, birthday bash last week that took us like 4 or 5 hours. We did the exact same raid this week. You didn't play. We did it in an hour. That quick.
I hope that I'm not the common denominator.
Yeah. Think about it this way, Paul. We were like shaking up the cobwebs there. We also had a person that never ran it also that day, Relaximus.
That is true.
So we were also trying to refigure out Bolt and the ogre part. We wiped a couple times there. So it's like, and also we were just screwing up the cheese with with Riven. The 15 times we did it in 2 with Riven, and the final run we did it in 1. Like the relay race, it happened in 1. So if we do it again, it's gonna go much quicker because it's just us doing it, because now we know what we're doing. After you do it right, after a while not doing it, that's what takes longer. You just always happen to jump into the raids where we're like relearning the mechanics and warming up again. So you always have the bad timing.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we were gonna do raid yesterday. We're gonna see if we're gonna do like a Kingswell, but life happened. So we'll see if we do a raid today. But new games are coming, so we'll see. But yeah, that was everything about Destiny. Story number 2, Paul. Opening night live for this year happened, and we didn't do our reacts. I kind of was just side-eyeing because I was editing our reacts also. So at this time, I just took this article from IGN to read some of the things, like the big ticket items. So So the things that happened at opening night lab that were not a dude walking to Jeff Keighley's mic asking, "Where is GTA 6? Bill Clinton wants to play GTA 6." There are a couple games that not quite announced but got updates. So I'm gonna try to go really quickly through this article because I think you didn't see much of what was here.
Not at all. I think I found out, like, in hindsight, a few of the items, all the big stuff that's listed here, pretty much.
Yeah, it's
yeah, at least know of it.
Yeah, so yeah, you're gonna read through this real quick. So, Starfield debuted the launch trailer. Basically, they had Todd Howard explaining like where the idea came from. That's around the time where Jeff Keighley got that GTA 6 dude and had to respond immediately. So, Zack Snyder revealed the Rebel Moon's his Star Wars film that he couldn't film because with Disney. He revealed the trailer for that movie, but why it was here was because he announced that they're gonna do a game also with a Netflix AAA team about Rebel Moon. That one is not dated, but because Rebel Moon is gonna become a thing, that's coming. Modern Warfare 3 showed a full demo, kind of like we got the Modern Warfare 2 demo last year at Summer Game Fest. We got the Modern Warfare 3 one for the first level for this game, where they were allegedly showing us the open level design that they were doing, but it looked like a Call of Duty level personally. So it was basically one of the castles from Verdansk, which is interesting that the Warzone map from the 2019 Modern Warfare. So they showed the entire level. It was like a long thing. So they showed a little bit more gameplay for Alan Wake 2, reiterating the October 27 release date. They announced Diablo 4 Season 2 already, which is pretty funny that they already got the name for that one. It's going to be called Season of Blood, and it adds a Vampire Hunter companion. Mortal Kombat 1 revealed 2 new fighters, Sindel and General Shao Kahn. So a different version of Shao Kahn in the game. So because again, like the big thing of Mortal Kombat 1 is that they're reimagining with some characters, like what they're doing with Raiden. It's actually pretty cool. Like Mortal Kombat 1 still looks good, but in fighting news, more exciting, Tekken 8 gets its release date, January 26, 2024. That's going to be one of the first games we buy in 2024, Paul. I definitely want to play Tekken 8. I've heard really great things. More gameplay, another gameplay trailer for Assassin's Creed Mirage, just reiterating the pullback of the date that's releasing earlier, and Baghdad in that game looks really good. But again, like the thing that excites me the most is that they were playing up the scale of the city, but I'm like, my selling point for this game is that it's shorter. So it's like, I don't care about the scale of the city. Cyberpunk 2077 2.0, the big rework that they were mentioning was going to happen with Phantom Liberty. They clarified that this is just a general patch. So if you only have the base game, this rework is going to work. So you don't even have to buy Phantom Liberty. So it's a lot what they're doing. It's like what they're adding with that 2.0 thing.
It's an encyclopedia worth. And eagle-eyed viewers notice that they use Cyberpunk Edgerunners characters as images in the perks now.
Yeah, so it's like, again, it's synergizing with that. It's like, I tell you, Paul, I can't wait for this game to like solidify this game's like comeback, because its comeback was only gonna kind of touch upon because of the synergy with Edgerunners. This feels like the victory lap. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait for it to actually launch and for it to really work on September 26th. But I'm really glad that they're back to the CDPR like good side of things. So like, hey, remember when we were so pro consumer in The Witcher 3? Like all those patches we gave you, all those 16 weeks of free content we gave you. It's like, this has that energy, and definitely coming after their entire reputation tanked, but better than nothing. Sonic Superstars, the 2D Sonic game that was revealed at Keighley at Summer Game Fest, got a release date. I feel I'm having a Mandela effect with this thing. I remember hearing this game was coming the same week as Mario Wonder and Spider-Man 2 on October 17, and they're talking about this like it's a big deal. So I need to go back because I feel like it was a Mandela effect for me. And then Sonic Frontiers, my surprise game, like one of my surprise favorite games from last year, is getting the Final Horizon update. Basically a free update that's going to add a new story, new playable characters, and new challenges. It's free. I'm definitely going to try it out. Again, like I keep saying, like I went into Frontiers wanting to hate it. I wanted to hate it. I wanted to make fun of our friend PJ, to have another Sonic game to make fun of him, and this one was a good one. the only good one in 20 years in the 3D space.
Yeah.
Yes, which is not a like again not a big bolt, not a big hump to bolt over, but it was good. I enjoyed that game, and I can't wait to play more of it again. If that update launches in a good time, because there's gonna be really good times this year. Quantic Dream announced that they're publishing a game named Dustborn, which is a narrative-driven action-adventure game that is set in an alternate version of America. The game is described as one about hope, love, friendships, robots, and the power of words. And players will be building relationships with their crew as they travel across the country. So it's basically taking the idea of the cross-country of Final Fantasy 15 and put like the Quantic Dream coat of paint. Even though they're just publishing stuff, but they wanted to associate themselves with that. So the trailer's there. It doesn't look like my thing. So. Thank Goodness You're Here is a new game by studio behind Untitled Goose Game. It's a weird looking thing, just look it up. So,
I'm checking it out right now, and it sure is a game.
Yeah, it's really weird to say. This was probably one of the most interesting announcements of the show. Little Nightmares 3 announced with a trailer about the spooky co-op adventure. The big notable thing about Little Nightmares 3 is that the creator of the first and second game is not making it. He sold the rights to this game for Namco Bandai to make a game without him under Supermassive Games, the guys that made The Quarry, Until Dawn, and the Dark Pictures Anthology games.
Oh, shoot, they're working on this?
Yeah, they're working on that. So it's like, and they brought the creator in and be like, yeah, I just wanted to do something else, but they still love the IP. They wanted to do something, so I let them do it. So that was like a big thing. So again, that's always a slippery slope of like a work continuing beyond a creator's. But if it's a creator's desire to move on, but they're okay with their work continuing on and they get the blessing, more power to them.
Yeah.
At least it was.
At least there's no weird drama.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That we know of, at least how they presented it. So
fair.
So this game, Paul, Black Myth Wukong, has been like one that has been like building up steam like throughout this year. Like when we were getting into like showcase, people be like, yeah, keep an eye on this Black Myth Wukong game. And definitely this is like an action game that definitely has some cool vibes. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna.
I mean, have you? Did you watch any of like the old demo and the showcases that they've been?
No, I only saw the one that they showed in this one. So.
So you haven't seen like this? It's basically been all of this like the last year and a half at least.
Yeah, the things that it hasn't like popped in my mind, so it's not something that I'm like actively thinking
this
about.
Is gonna be crazy whenever it comes out, but yeah, keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Did they put a date on this thing? I'm trying to looking back at the trailer real quick.
Probably not. I had to guess, because they never do. It's just been kind of like in the ether.
It's just been percolating. So,
but what's being capable of? We'll talk about another game that's going to achieve something similar. But like just that whole concept that gets touched on a lot with the whole like Sun Wukong, Journey to the West, that whole thing. This just looks sick, and I love staff-based gameplay. So sign me up there.
Ooh, if you love staff, like play Ninja Gaiden and just put the staff weapon on.
I see. That's the Ninja Gaiden kind of like passed me by. I never ended up getting to play it, and then only in hindsight, finding out how hard it was, I was like, okay, glad I didn't really touch that.
The thing is that it is hard, but it's not impossibly hard. I tell you, it's just not. So, and I think those 3 games are on Game Pass. The Master Collection. I bought that collection back in 2021. I remember it was not like on sale. Because I had Ninja Gaiden Sigma, the original, and I played the second one, and the third one I played briefly, but not the Razor's Edge, so it's there. They're fun action games. Like if you're ever anchoring like actual solid square triangle combat instead of Souls-like combat, it's in that vibe. So Marvel Snap showed up here also, and there was a big announcement that it's no longer just gonna be in mobile. It's gonna have a Steam version. So, and it came with like a really cool anime like trailer.
So, I watched that. I was going nuts for it. I knew there's no way it's gonna get me to play the game, but I was like, gosh, if they just put this kind of energy into the stuff they actually produce. So then after that, another thing announced here was the Medieval Fighter Warhaven
which
Is
is like
that
a
what it
six.
is? Because this
Yeah,
CG trailer has given me nothing about what the game's actually about.
yeah. I don't think this is a trailer issue, but that's the thing. I was like looking and not looking when I was like doing this. But this was at ONL, and it has a September 21st, 2023 release
Oh
date.
no, it's made by Nexon. Okay. I know
So
exactly the kind of caliber I'm gonna get out of that.
yes, yeah, that's coming out on September 21st. I think that's the same day as Payday, if I'm not mistaken. So, Grand Blue Fantasy Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, the action RPG that I think we saw it back at the PlayStation showcase, got a new release date, February 1st, 2024. It's hey, they put 2023 here there, but no, they got
Oh
delayed because
yeah, I'm
yeah.
remembering this now. I remember really liking the idea
Mhm.
behind the
I think
combat.
we were, and I think I remember when we did our recap of that showcase, I was asking you, isn't this supposed to be like a fighting series? And then I remember it was Blaze Blue. So
Yeah.
then there's Nightingale. This game has been like shown so many times at a Jeff Keighley joint. They were recently acquired by Tencent. They announced that the early access date for this shooter, like this survival shooter, is now on February 22nd, 2024. Expeditions, a mud runner game. It's a driving sim game where you off-road to your heart's content. This is like this is a game from No Runner. That's kind of like in that vibe. They announced it. Nothing more to say. Stormgate, the game made by the former Blizzard people, that is basically StarCraft. They gave like a later developer update, but I don't think they released it, so it just showed up there. Crimson Desert, though, this was the game of this show. Crimson Desert is one of the most insane looking games I've seen, of how much you can do within it. It just feels like the way there's more meme, like personified. It's like this fantasy game that you can, like, there's sword combat, toppling structures, bow and arrow fighting on horseback, fishing, hijacking carriages, petting dogs, like have this like weird building mechanics to float around. It's like, I remember when I told you, did you see this trailer? That was the game our buddy Sebastian mentioned. It's like, this feels like an Unreal Engine Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom. And I'm like, it does look like that. It's like, it's made by this is made by Pearl Abyss, which is whatchamacallit, a South Korean developer. And kind of like Gene Park says, like, when South Koreans do things, they go hard. Everything they do is like, they just overproduce everything. So this was announced before, but I think this is the biggest pop this game has gotten, because you see a bunch of gameplay. So,
I knew what I was thinking of. This looks so much like Black Desert Online, but not an MMO, because it looks like this and it plays like this. It's just so dense that I could not get into it after a couple of months, but it's like, it's all tracking now. It's all coming together.
Yeah. But that looked impressive, like, for like kind of, because it's not the kind of game that I expect from that side of the world. So it's really interesting to see how much they put into this game. So
Did
definitely
they establish this is like a single player adventure?
Yeah, this is not an MMO.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
As far as I know, yes. Yeah, so.
This, like, it screams like whenever you're not prepared for it, you're like, oh, this is so freaking cool, and then you see like 5 other players show up and it's a public event and there's a raid scene, and I'm like, no, what is wrong with you? It's like that other game that we recently saw that had like
that had an MMO. Yeah, it was like an action
RPG
MMO thing. So it's not this one. Again, I feel like should we call an audible now and start worrying that there's so many games now that are starting to look way too similar in art styles?
I don't know if it's too. I think there's a bit of a homogenization based on the engine stuff, because it's so easy to now make things that a lot of people are using similar assets or only making slight changes instead of having to make their own stuff from scratch. I've learned that being on that other side of it, where it's just too easy to make your own, to not make your own stuff and just kind of use something and tweak it. But also, a lot of people have learned the wrong lesson of, hey, nothing else is going to sell except the stuff we know worked. Because it's kind of right. You do try different things all the time, and they usually don't get enough publicity. They're not polished enough for this kind of environment that's just too focused on that AAA game. That nobody's willing to reward a good effort with issues, you know?
Yeah, it's like they're like this industry, especially from the buyers, just general gaming audiences. I feel there's like a certain. If we're talking with our buddy Sebastian about this, is like there are a lot of morons that they only care about like the high budget, highly produced, hyper realistic thing. That it was making me worry, especially that the only way to achieve that kind of level was just the high budgets that it's clearly becoming unsustainable. Many developers saying this is not sustainable. How long we're taking to make these kinds of games, how much money it's spent making them. And a tool like Unreal Engine 5 is giving people tools in like the lower end to make those games approximate this look. And I wonder, I need to check to see if this is an Unreal Engine 5 game. It looks like it, if I'm perfectly honest. It's like, because it feels like it's remember in the 360 era, Paul,
if it's
where
not, I would be shocked.
Yeah. But remember in the 360 era, Paul, Unreal Engine 3, Gears of War, like how many games look so similar because they used that engine. They had that.
I mean, just look at the Unreal Tournament compared to Gears of War.
Exactly, they're literally made the same technology. Transformers War for Cybertron made on Unreal Engine also. Batman Arkham Asylum made on Unreal Engine 3 also. It's like there were so many games that if they were on Unreal Engine 3, it was like it's gonna be like a Gears of War style, like adjacent look to it. So I feel Unreal Engine 5 could get into that trap eventually, but again, I would definitely want to check on the technology of this. But I feel like I've seen that style before, and the things, especially after playing Atlas Fallen, visually, I feel like I've seen that game before. Visually, that's why it started to like sending me the alarm bells of like, is this what standard looking games will look like? I feel like I've seen this before. So again, just like something that right now where we're in the generation, I'm gonna keep a bigger eye on those visual styles. Like that's one of the reasons to me that Final Fantasy 16 worked so well for me. It's like not an Unreal Engine game. I don't know, and it had a unique style to it, even though it was like more photorealistic compared to other things. But it had a style that still made it its own. So, Bulletstorm, Paul, is getting a VR game that's coming out in December this year. Age of Empires 4, Age of Empires 4 Anniversary Edition, which came out 2 years ago on PC and got an announcement for console this year, but with an undetermined. They got a shadow drop that day, so if you want to play Age of Empires 4 with your console, you can now. Killing Floor 3, Killing Floor 2 came out like 7 years ago, I feel like.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, so they announced it. So, the launch trailer for Armored Core 6 was showed here, which makes sense. The game's coming out in literally 5 hours from right now when we're recording. The Last Epoch got a first look trailer, which was like a strategy game. We got a new look at the Crew Motorfest, which is the Ubisoft, another version of the Ubisoft's like open world racing game that looks so much like Forza Horizon. And my EIC Ains, he got to see the Crew Motorfest at Summer Game Fest when he went to visit. And
I want to pause something real quick because I found something out. First of all, Crimson Desert is not made on Unreal Engine.
Okay.
It's on something called Black Space. But you know what engine that is and what other game Pearl Abyss has made?
What?
Black Desert Online. I told it.
Yeah. Yeah, you have an eye at least to see like for that aesthetic.
I knew it looked familiar. Son of a gun!
I'm so glad you figured it out.
Really happy though.
Yeah.
Because people have been talking about how great that game is and how great it feels, and the only downside is that it is just chock full of crap that you don't want to deal with sometimes. So to scale that back to a single player adventure game might actually be truly amazing, because it's the same engine that they're working on it with, that they've been dialing it in for that game for like what has to be 5 to 10 years now. Actually 9 years. Came out in 2014.
Yeah, that's nuts. That's so nuts.
They have been dialing this in so long they can do whatever the frick they want with that engine. That actually is amazing. Will
this be like a Final Fantasy 16 after 14? Like same team, like moving to a different kind of non-MMO game?
Sounds like it's gonna be that. I mean, it's the same dev. Shoot.
That's so funny that you got those vibes and you nailed it. So kind of like I was mentioning with the Crew Motorfest, my AC Ains saw this game and he says that if you had not told him that this wasn't Forza Horizon, Like if someone told him, "Oh, this is Forza Horizon," he would have believed it. It's that kind of game. So
Yeah.
Fort Solis launched the launch trailer, which the funny thing is that this showcase happened when this game was out. So they were just there to be like, game's
Huh.
out. And they made a big deal. It's like, yeah, we made this game in 2 years with 10 devs. No crunch, no delays. They literally one that said that. I was like, cool, buddy. I
Good
haven't,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it was Roger Clark who said that, which is the voice of Arthur Morgan.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I haven't heard good things. I tell you, like, at least not super positive.
Honestly, I've heard nothing about it once it came out, which is
Uh,
unfortunately the way a lot of this happens.
mm,
I look I expect it to be like free 1 month coming
yeah,
up in the next 6 months.
we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
probably see it. Yeah. Lords of the Fallen got an official extended story trailer. That game is like looking better and better the more I see it. It's like sneaking in
That
into it's sneaking
front
into
to
like
back co-op
yeah.
really
It's like
gonna
sold
help
me.
it.
Yeah, it really is sold me more. Genshin Impact was here. Honkai Star was here. Also, Sandless Zone Zero. Those trailers, just those Chinese like uh, games that Jeff Keighley has to show up because they pay the bills. They show trailers here.
Yeah.
Payday 3 got another trailer. We know what Payday 3 is. There was this
Yep.
game called Delta Force, Paul, that it was like very Call of Duty-esque. That was one of the first things they showed at this at this thing. I think it's like a multiplayer thing, but it looked like more single player. Like definitely take a look at that trailer when you can.
I'm clipping through right now, and
Uh-huh.
it's interesting because it's got like a futuristic
A
vibe because it's
futuristic
like in the
vibe, huh?
2030s or something, but
Uh-huh.
the mechanics are looking pretty solid. It's got a lot of oh shoot, so we got like Battlefield vibes
Uh-huh.
here.
That's what I'm telling you. It's like it was very
Oh man.
uh-huh.
All right. You know what? That is such a fine, I'll do it myself kind of
Uh-huh.
a game look to it.
Right.
Did they say what this is coming out for and
No, it
when
was
or
yeah.
anything? Because
I
it
don't
just cuts
remember.
out.
Yeah, it just cuts out. I may look for more details afterwards. But I thought it had like for consoles and PC, but I could be wrong. You can look it up as I move forward real quick. With they showed more about Homeworld 3. There was this game. There was this side scroller game called Mandragora that actually looked interesting. They showed another Warhammer game. There's so many Warhammer games these days. I tell you. They showed another game called Our History Untold official story trailer, and according to IGN, that was all like the big ticket items. So Crimson Desert is the big one for me, and I forgot and Delta and that Delta Force game. Like, do you find more details about that?
Well, they say apparently this is a 10-cent game, so I guess
Yeah.
temper your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull this one up because it's not giving me a lot of detail on it. Here we go. Yeah, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, Epic
Yeah.
Store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it also lists Android and Apple, so
Huh.
that immediately drops my interest to what is actually going to be capable in this game.
Yeah. Why? Because more Warson's also an Apple, and Android.
That's fair, but that's also like Activision money. I don't know if there's anybody that can throw that much money into a mobile game version because
Tencent would be the one because
let
Tencent is
me
like the biggest money maker, like money like putter into the industry.
is Warzone cross-platform with mobile to console?
Yeah, I remember
That seems really bad actually, because one of the big things with mobile is that you can do an auto fire. The second your crosshairs go over an enemy, it just drowns them.
I think it was crossplay with like the old version of Warzone that is shutting down. That they
Okay,
announced
then maybe
recently,
that's
so,
why, because
yeah.
I have a feeling that is a nightmare to code if they tried to pull
Yeah.
that up, because you just play on mobile and you'd win so much easier, because that was the whole deal with that.
No.
I played that. It was a time.
Yeah.
Um,
But I've heard
yeah.
that mobile version of Call of Duty is shockingly good. I don't play
Yes.
mobile games, but it's like they actually like. I'm glad to hear that because it's like for the people that actually play that way, at least it's a good game. It would never be the way I play it. But I remember you were playing Call of Duty Online, not Warzone. It was Call of Duty Online. Just
Oh yeah, no.
uh,
I'll clarify. That's what I was playing, but it's the same mechanics translated over into Warzone. That's what made me think like, oh, if you play something like that with all those survival details and like, I wonder how you even manage the inventory. But yeah, that's what I started going off the rails there, but overall, playing mobile is a way easier process to do really well. But I
Yeah.
thought that you could only play people that were playing on mobile
I remember
in
here
that
because
one.
that was in the Modern Warfare 2 showcase from last year. I remember looking at it. So, but things may have changed. I don't keep a finger of the pulse in that series. So, but
Yeah,
at
not at
least with
all.
what they show with the Delta Force, it's like the Tencent connection aside, it's like that looked cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I'll give that.
Battlefield still like gotta recover. It's like yes, 2042 right now is better, but it's like who talks about it? Who plays it? That's kind of
Yeah.
where they are. So, but that's enough for ONL, Paul. I tell you, so just reading that list, I'm glad I didn't do like a reaction. It felt good just to read what was there. So
There's a couple of good things that would have been on here, and I would have been like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," but it's
yeah,
not worth like watching it for
yeah,
2 to 3 hours.
exactly. Like I'd rather do that for Game Awards because Game Awards at the very least recently has been more consistent and like Keeley at least know that he got to bring the guns for that one, and he did make it. He made a point of saying that ONL is like awkwardly placed in that it's so close to so many games releasing that it feels more like it feels better as the show for the final push for the games that you're about to play. So
Mhm.
it has that. Though I remember last year's ONL was so much better than Summer Game Fest. Summer Game Fest was bad in 2022, announcement wise. ONL I thought it was slightly better. He had that Everywhere game, like the
I
release
have a
dates of
feeling there was
things.
something going on with like all of the delays
Yeah.
leading up to a better position in the year, and then
Hmm.
now maybe we're back into the regular
Yeah.
routine.
And that's what happened. Is like Summer Game Fest got effed by the delays,
Yeah.
and him like hinging the show on a remake, The Last of Us Part One. So and promising
Yeah.
gameplay, and then the only thing we saw was Modern Warfare 2 and Callisto Protocol. So
Hmm.
that's why later that ONL worked so much better because they reinforced release dates after like it felt so much better because we were so traumatized by delays and all of that. So ONL just played so much better that way. So and it made me more excited for games that even though they turned out mediocre, I was not feeling it because remember we saw the Gotham Knights launch trailer there, and we're like, this looks like a game we want to play. Like I'm getting those Arkham vibes. Remember that before the game came out? And
Hmm.
hey, and not to be a hypocrite, people can go back. At the time, we were enjoying Gotham Knights. In hindsight, we don't.
Yeah.
So, but it was that kind of year. It was like things just played better when you were in famish. So, and that was double famish on the games released that year and Batman content in gaming. So, uh, third story, Paul. Moving on from that, PlayStation Portal remote play device launches later this year for $200. Story by Wesley LeBlanc from Game Informer. Earlier this summer, PlayStation revealed a dedicated handheld remote play device that puts one half of a DualSense controller on each side of an LCD screen. Which, by the way, it just looks so freaking hideous. It's so hideous. However, it stopped short of revealing its name or a price. Today, PlayStation has revealed it's called the PlayStation Portal, and it will cost $199 when it's released later this year. The PlayStation Portal remote player includes the features you'd expect from a DualSense controller, like adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, which, quote unquote, Paul hates adaptive triggers. You didn't even talk about Sniper Elite 5 when you said adaptive triggers, like, oh,
Oh, you're right. I knew I was forgetting something
yeah.
else, but
But
goes to show.
we already moved on from that. But wedged between the two controllers halves is an 8-inch LCD screen capable of 1080p 60 FPS playback. PlayStation says the device is for gamers in households where they might need to share their living room TV or simply want to play PS5 games in another room of the house. The PlayStation Portal will connect remotely to your PS5 over Wi-Fi and can play supported games installed in your console. The device includes a 3.5mm audio jack for wired audio, although the new PlayStation Pulse Elite headset and Pulse Explore earbuds will connect to it wirelessly via new technology the company is calling PlayStation Link. You can read more about these two new audio devices at the PlayStation blog. And PSVR 2 games which require the headset and games streamed through PlayStation Plus Premium Class streaming are not supported, however. PlayStation Portal will launch later this year for $199.99. There's no release date yet for the device, but PlayStation says it will have more details soon on when pre-orders begin. I will say this, the price is way better than I was expecting. It's cheaper than a Vita. Because this,
Fair.
yes. But the thing is that functionality-wise, it has less than a Vita. Like, the only way to play this thing is if you're connected remotely to your PlayStation 5. So it's like,
Yeah, so you literally need a PS5 to make it work. You can't do anything Bluetooth. Your Battery life is like 3 hours.
It's like this.
Um,
It's the time of like a DualSense Edge, which is not great.
yeah.
And the DualSense Edge is the
Is
Pro controller that launched at the
Can
same
you
price.
fully take it portable or and like just remote play from wherever you
Yeah,
are?
as long as you have a Wi-Fi connection, and
Okay.
your thing is
It's not the
connected.
worst thing in the world, but it's not even a real system.
Yeah,
It literally
it's a
still
remote.
requires
It's a
another
remote play.
system to
Yeah, it's
play.
just a remote play device.
I think that's what kills it for me. If it was like a full system that you could just play a weaker version of your favorite games, then
Mm-hmm.
win-win. But the fact that you still need to go buy a PS5, have a PS5, and
Yeah,
it just doesn't compute for me.
yeah. This is Sony basically being like, we used to do handheld devices. Our
Yeah.
first one was so successful. Our second one bombed catastrophically. But there's probably a market there for that. Look at the Switch. Look at Steam Deck they just introduced there. I still stand that the Steam Deck is not a successful device, relatively speaking, considering how little it sold in a year. Debates for other time. But it was like, it's them being like, let's put a portable device, but not fully commit. And I'll say this. If something killed the Vita was the fact that they didn't commit. It's like they put that piece of hardware out. It was
Yeah.
pretty nice, but they didn't want to commit with putting their actual studios to make games for that thing, which is the thing you need to sell that device, because they were launching PlayStation 4 soon after, and they wanted them to make games for that. So it was like, at the very least, like for people that want like a handheld something of this thing, it's like, at least they know that every game that they buy on PS5 can potentially be put here. And I know there's a lot of people in use functionality. They don't do what you do, that you have your freaking small TV next to the big TV where your wife watches.
Yeah.
So this would theoretically be for you if you want to be like your wife, being like, "Hey, let's keep watching Firefly Lane and cry," like, and be like, "Yeah, but I don't want to stop playing, but I'm gonna like side eye." So
Right.
this would
Like
be
that
for you.
part,
Yeah.
it's the Wii U.
Yeah, this is basically the Wii U ahead of its time. And it's interesting because they mentioned the fact that this has technological PlayStation Link. People that demoed this thing were telling that the latency is shockingly good, like in local, like as a local thing. So I can't wait to hear more when this thing is actually out in the wild. Price wise, again, kind of like I mentioned, it was like when they announced that this was happening, I was like, this is gonna be an overpriced piece of garbage. As I literally said that this comes in cheaper, but there's still better options around this price, or like for $100 more, like the Sebastian's Logitech Cloud G, which plays games so well, and it's like you can connect it to Game Pass and all that. It's like and some of these devices can even be modded to like include like you can put like an emulator for SNES and all of that, and like you make it an actual portable. I wonder if this is hackable. I do wonder, because apparently I heard that this screen is like has Android technology in it. So that alone,
Didn't we already see somebody learning how to hack it or something?
if we were saw like when we saw an image of it, that's why we learned that it had Android like OS in it.
Right.
So that's why I wonder if like it could be jailbroken, and then people can actually make it a legit
It's
handle. But
gotta be. I don't think there's a single piece of tech that's not jailbreakable at this point.
Yeah, the Vita took a while, and like it took them a while. Like they were scared of how easy the PSP was jailbroken, because that's the irony of the PSP for Sony. It's like it's one of their it was a really a good seller. It sold like 80 million units. That's a lot of units to put out like in the market. The problem was that because homebrew was so big on that thing, software sales catastrophic. So many they try to clamp that down for the Vita, but they overly clamped it down, and it didn't sell anything. And now it's easily hackable now, but at the point where they no longer care. So yeah, so PlayStation Portal, it's interesting. It's like this is a PSP. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's clear like what they were going for by calling it a Portal. R.I.P. Vita. Vita is like the Vita was so good. Like
People owe the Vita a huge apology.
Yeah, it was like it's like Vita was so ahead of its time, so freaking ahead of its time. But the reason why we never got a new one, a dedicated one, was because both people didn't buy it and Sony didn't support it. It was a great indie machine, I tell you. Like in that period where we got cross buy, if you got like an indie game on PS4, you got a Vita version for free automatically. That was the best place to play those games. That's where I played Shovel Knight. It was so great playing it there. And even a game like Axe and Verge was great playing it there. So This would make me actually like some of those indie games. Like if the latency is like as good as people say it is, playing a bunch of those like pixel art indie games I can handle. Those are those are the kinds of games like that. I could see like a functionality for that, but I'll definitely wait for a price drop on that one. So and to hear if it's actually good. Remote play worked well for me on my phone. I tell you, that's how I play a lot of Final Fantasy 4 and 6. Turn based is great for remote play.
I wish that I liked the idea of the hoops you have to jump through for remote play. It sounds great in theory, and like reality, it probably
there's
isn't.
Barely any, and the thing is, there's barely any hoops. You download the app, plus connect, and you start playing. That's all you need.
I think the last time I tried to connect, it wasn't working for me, so I was just like, I don't feel like dealing with this.
Yeah, but it's like it's so simple. It's really simple. It's like you download the app, you make sure that it shows like when you log in with your account, that it shows that your PlayStation is connected, and you connect. As long as you have good internet, it works. The big difference then is like because, for example, my brother did this once. He downloaded the remote play app for my dad's iPad, and they enabled the DualSense to be able to be connected via Bluetooth to the iPad, and he was able to play it through remote play. Like the iPad is there with his controller. So
you still just play it with your controller.
Yeah, exactly. So
is that how it's supposed to be, or is he supposed to be able to play it on?
You can also play with your phone, like with touch controls. Huh. There's many ways to do remote play. Like the backbone was another one. The backbone is $100 cheaper than this, but it means you use your phone. And kind of like what Sebastian was saying, it's like there's always like it's cool to have it in the phone, but there's always the problem because it's your phone. Your gaming time may be interrupted by a notification, a phone call, and all that. So, but there is a cheaper way to get remote play for people that want it. The backbone is there; it's just $100. So, remote play, I tell you, is like I became more of a believer of remote play after I played a lot of Final Fantasy 4 and 6 there. So, and I have been hearing with the latency of this one again. I want to see it, the practical use of this. For 200 right now, again, it's a wait and see. But on a sale, and if it's good, I'll buy it. Because I like watching a bunch of TV stuff, but I also don't like. I hate stopping playing too, so it's weird.
True.
We're a ruined generation, Paul. We can't just focus. We need to be multitasking.
We're like the last generation before it got even worse, and the people before us can just sit there with their own thoughts and do nothing for 4 hours, watch the Big Bang Theory reruns or something.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's because sometimes comfortable having that, like feeling like you're taking by a chunk of bites of many things.
Yeah.
So I know that feeling. So story number 4, also staying with Wassel LeBlanc at Game Informer. This is a big deal. Baldur's Gate 3 will launch on Xbox this year, but without split screen co-op on Series S. Baldur's Gate 3 developer Larian Studios has confirmed his RPG will launch on new gen Xbox consoles this year. However, it will be missing a multiplayer feature, split screen co-op, on the Xbox Series S. Baldur's Gate 3 has been perhaps the biggest surprise hit of 2023. We gave it one of the highest scores of the year, they said. Although early access players have been singing the RPG's praises for a while now. It launched on PC earlier this month and is due on PlayStation 5 next month. Earlier this summer, Larian said he wants to launch Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox this year, but might push into 2024 due to parity issues between Xbox Series X and Series S. Now, it's been confirmed by the RPG will hit Xbox this year after a meeting between Baldur's Gate 3 director Sven Vink and Xbox head Phil Spencer. Super happy to confirm that after meeting Phil Spencer yesterday, we found a solution that allows us to bring Baldur's Gate 3 to Xbox players this year. Still, something we've been working towards for quite some time, Vink writes on Twitter. All improvements will be there, with split-screen co-op and Series X. Series S will not feature split-screen co-op, but will also include cross-save progression between Steam and Xbox Series. Considering just how much PC players have been enjoying Baldur's Gate 3, not to mention anticipation of PlayStation players heading into the fair run in just 2 weeks, Vink's announcement is a huge win for Xbox players this year. While Baldur's Gate 3 supports cross-save progression between Steam and Xbox Series X and S, and between Steam and PlayStation 5 separately, it's important to note that the game does not support cross-play. So while people can play the game on PC, Xbox, and PS5, they won't be able to do so together. While Vink confirmed Baldur's Gate 3 will hit Xbox this year, he stopped short of an actual date for when to expect the RPG on that platform. So, the Rubicon happened. They crossed it. Xbox launched both the Xbox Series X and S this generation with a parity clause. The whole deal was, whatever the Xbox Series X version has, every feature is going to be on the S. Because theoretically, the only difference should have been resolution. The Series X is the 4K machine. The Series S is the 1440p machine that also allows for the high frame rates.
Now they're already
practice,
saying, yeah, you can't actually do these things.
No, the thing is that in practice, after the first year, that reality hasn't played out for the Series S. Like, a lot of games that launch in that system launch at 1080p. Like, that's the target. That's kind of like the target resolution. Some games launch with a performance one on Series S. Many games don't. This was the year, actually, like when I tried Wild Hearts, because I could do the EA Play kind of like 10-hour early access I could do, and because we had it because of Game Pass, I was like, I'm gonna try this. That was the first year. That was the first game I played on Series S where I was like, okay, so I think we're starting getting there, where it's like the resolution's kind of mudgy in my TV, the frame rate's not there, when I know like this game has like 4K resolution on Series X and can be played at 60 frames. It's like the promise is not being like fulfilled. It's been great with all the games. Like, I would say the Series S has worked shockingly well in a lot of the games that we played. And also because our main platform is the PlayStation. So we know where we want to play our games. Most at least because we have a way to play like a high level, like a version of those games. I couldn't imagine us only having a Series S. On the promise that it was like, oh yeah, it's a 1440p machine. Because the thing is that a lot of games that we play, Paul, like even though the game's output at 4K, it's rendered at 1440p. Upscaling makes a difference like just nigh on indistinguishable in my eyes. That I was like, I can do 1440p. Upscaling works well for me. It's so like I even noticed it with my brother when he plays games on his PC connected to his TV at full 4K. I was like, yeah, this looks nice, but if I'm perfectly honest, it's not that much nicer than 1440p, at least on the TVs that I play. So that's why I was like, that's why I justified the Series S. Like, if this is the 1440p machine, yeah, it's like Xbox is not my main platform as of right now, so it's like, but I don't want to miss on some of their games, and Game Pass makes it easy, so that's why I got the S. This was the first big snag, like public PR snag, the Series S got, like in this generation of like, Baldur's Gate 3 is a massive game. The best rated game, one of the best rated games this year. Like, the parity clause meant that one of the best games this year was just not gonna be available over on Xbox, because Larian, for some reason, they're like so pushing the fact that you need split screen co-op in this game, which is so weird because split screen is like, who plays split screen? But it's like they were adamant that that's like part of like baked into what they wanted this game to be, and the Series S was just giving them trouble. But Microsoft's parity clause that if it features on the X, it has to be in the S, meant that they were gonna delay this version. So it made this a de facto console PS5 exclusive when it was never meant to be that. So they bent the knee here. The thing is that if they did it here, does this open the floodgates now for Series S versions? The developers are hitting developing snacks because the Series S is just not that powerful and they're running into trouble optimizing for it. If they're gonna get the go ahead by Microsoft to be like, hey, this feature may not be able to launch here. We could patch it in later, but could you make an exception to your parity clause? Again, it's like, I understand why Microsoft did it, because they wanted people to buy the Series S. I mean, that's how they got us. But now it's like, there's gonna be the things like, could we reach a point later this generation where the Series S version is just nigh on like super inferior to the X version? It's interesting, but as of right now, I would say good that they were able to bend the knee on this one. Baldur's Gate 3 is just, no one would shut up about it for like a month. Obviously, we're finally getting people getting into the late game, and we're hearing some, yeah, maybe not be as perfect as it is, but it's like, it still feels like a game that shocked the world this year.
Yeah, so, it was definitely the big surprise that nobody expected.
Yeah, even more than Elden Ring last year. People knew people were gonna enjoy Elden Ring, and they just was even bigger. But I feel this was an even bigger surprise than that. And just to kind of follow up as an addendum to that story, our fifth story, now moving over to BGC's Tom Ivan. Phil Spencer doesn't see a world where Xbox Series S has to miss out on some games. It's currently a mandatory requirement for developers to ensure that their games are compatible with both Xbox Series X and Series S in order to release them for Microsoft's console, kind of like I was saying. Some developers have argued that having to cater to Microsoft's entry-level console is limiting the potential of current-gen games. And the Xbox release of one of this year's most high-profile titles, Baldur's Gate 3, is currently being held up by technical issues encountered by developer Larian Studios, which has so far been unable to get its split-screen co-op mode to run on an acceptable level on Series S. On S specifically, we designed the box with similarities to X in clear places where we're targeting a different performance, Spencer told Eurogamer on Wednesday. And we're taking feedback from devs, including Larian. I met with them today to talk about it, and I'm confident we're going to find a good solution and we're going to learn. I don't see a world where we drop S. In terms of parity, I don't think you've heard from us or Larian that this was about parity. I think that's more that the community is talking about it. There are features that ship on X today that do not ship on S, even from our own games, like ray tracing that works in X. It's not on S in certain games. For an S customer, we spend roughly half what the X customer bought. They understand that it's not going to run the same way. I want to make sure games are available on both. That's our job as a platform holder, and we're committed to that with our partners. And I think we're going to get there with Larian. So I'm not overly worried about that, but we've learned some stuff through it. Having an entry-level price point for consoles up to $300 is a good thing for the industry. I think it's important. The Switch has been able to do that in terms of kind of the traditional plug into my television consoles. I think it's important, so we're committed. Phil Spencer doing the PR talk about, hey, at least they're publicly committing of it, like, yes. I think the parity clause is gonna soften.
Is this like the commitment where he's like, yeah, we're not gonna raise the prices on our games?
Not yet. They did say not yet. They did caveat it.
Yeah, not yet. But I mean, I don't know. Talk is cheap to me.
Yeah.
This guy, everybody, no matter what console they're with or if they're PC or whatever it is, they'll say whatever they want. Because they don't care about being mistaken about something, or even if they know the other reality and they're just like trying to buy time. In this specific situation, I believe him. I think it's just like a small issue that they're going to get over eventually. They're working on it. They just didn't have enough time to knock it out 100%.
He did make a good point. There are games on S that don't launch with ray tracing, and they launch with X. So they had already been like some like parity discrepancies that were logical. We're not gonna be there because like ray tracing requires a lot of hardware power that the S doesn't have. So I think he at least made a mention that I think they're gonna be a little bit more flexible because they do have a commitment to release every freaking game this generation on both systems. Like that's the bag that they chose, and they gotta commit to it. And that's good commitment. That's good for me because at least now we know that at least if the head of Xbox is saying that at least when it comes to their exclusives, we're always gonna get those. So at least it's
I am glad that he's at least saying these things where he's like, hey, we're committing to not dropping the S, like no matter what it is. Like I'm glad they're attempting to, even if it doesn't look as good, I'm fine with that as long as it can play the games, because like he said, it's so important to have an under $300 option for people to do gaming. It can't be a luxury item.
That's how they got us.
Exactly.
Remember how cheap was yours, Paul? $229?
I think it was $250.
$250, but still, like that's how you got it. So it's like a full ass console that does backwards compatibility really great, more than our main console. Has Game Pass. That's what we're gonna experience Starfield. It's like that. I'm glad that they went that way, even if it comes with some of the sacrifices. But it's important. Like Sony didn't went that way, so, and that's gonna be like a benefit and a detriment. Like if the tables had turned, like imagine if the Xbox had been the actual bestseller this generation instead of PlayStation. Like PlayStation would have been forced to do that entry level thing to try to even things out. As far as I understand why he is also saying this, the split between S buyers and X buyers is like 60-40, if not 70-30.
Yeah.
Like so, and they're even saying that they even see the X as already their mid-gen refresh, so they're not even gonna consider like a pro model like what they went with the Xbox One X. And I also do believe them in that way because if you remember, Paul, the Xbox Series X is more powerful in numbers than the PS5, like in spreadsheets. Remember that was like the big thing. The thing is that Sony was smart with how they engineered the PS5, that developers are able to tap into power that the numbers suggested was not there, and it's making their games look just as good on Series X and perform better, which is so ironic. There are a few exceptions where the Xbox Series X version actually looks better and runs better, but it's like minuscule. Because they know that it's like the system does not proliferate in the PlayStation 5. Everyone that buys a PlayStation 5, whether it's the digital version or the disc version, is the PlayStation 5. So at least from the development side, it's like so much easier for them. They're just coding for one. So, but hey, at least I'm glad that some consternation for the Xbox community got like assuaged, because I tell you, it's like so many people were like FDS. If DS is the reason we're not getting Baldur's Gate 3, while the PlayStation fans gets to flaunt it as an exclusive that is not even theirs, it's like,
yeah,
at least they bent the knee. Like, I mean, Phil Spencer, love it or hate him, it's like he making big moves. He finally getting Final Fantasy 14 after 10 years of people asking over in the Xbox side if they're bringing that game.
Jeez.
Finally happens. So when he said he commits, I tell you, it's like he may have corporate speak, but eventually he gets the job done, as late as it can be, and at least it's something. It's like at least it's a book. Oh, it's a book. I like him better than freaking Jim Ryan, I tell you. So.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question in my
Not
head.
even question, yeah. And that's the end of the news, Paul. Read us the release dates for August 27th to September 2nd.
We have Goodbye Volcano High on the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC on August 29th.
Finally, the Scaly game is
finally comes out. Samba de Amigo Party Central on the Switch on August 29th. Sea of Stars finally coming out on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on August 29th. Also on PlayStation Extra and Game Pass.
Yes.
So you have no excuse not to play this game
unless
at least
you're playing
something else.
Yeah, at least
try it. Under the Waves, the creepy horror underwater submarine thing. PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC on August 29th. My goodness, the week after this just continues to not give up at all.
No.
Somerville getting its PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 version on August 31st.
That came out on
Xbox
from last November. Mm-hmm.
Trine 5.
Insane that there's 5 of
conspiracy.
those.
I could not tell you what Trine even looks like,
it's like
but
a
I hear
side
the
scroller
name all the time.
Yeah, it's like a side scroller. I played it on PlayStation 4 through one of the free games from PS Plus.
You never hear people talk about it either.
Yeah. But they got 5 games, so it's like they're making enough money to make more.
It's the Fast and Furious of the video game world.
Yeah.
Anyway, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on August 31st.
Yeah.
And there's nothing for the first 2 days of September.
Actually, there is.
Is there? Because I looked it up and... Oh, well, yeah, okay. Starfield for September 1st.
Yeah, for September 1st, yeah.
The early access.
Yeah, because it officially releases on the 6th, but if you pay $45 extra, like, if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you can start playing it on the 1st. The reviews will determine, Paul. Yeah, those reviews will determine if...
I'm very tempted if it gets to be, like, really... If I'm not enjoying Armored Core 6 as much as I'm hoping I will, and the reviews are enough to give me that desire, I'll be like, just drop the money, do it. But if I'm like really enjoying Armored Core 6 and just replaying it or whatever, then it's like, I don't know, I feel like I've got what I need. It's really going to determine that.
We'll know in a week. In a week, the review impressions and reviews are going to start dropping. So they gave them 2 weeks for that game. That's usually a good sign. So I'm hoping for the best for that one. We go Goodbye Volcano High, the Scaly game finally releasing now, Paul. Only Little Devil Inside is the game, the last game from that 2020 June PlayStation show. That's the thing, is that that's the last game from the June 2020 PlayStation Showcase to have not come out still. A lot of those games that they announced in that showcase are finally out. Yeah. Including the September 2020 showcase. It's so funny. One of my favorite moments of this year was when Sebastian learned about the term of Scaly. Because I call it furry game, and then you're like, no, it's actually Scaly.
It's technically.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be bad, but I can't wait to hear what people.
I mean, it's gonna be exactly what I think that crowd wants, which is like a really in-depth, like coming of age and visual novel style game, which is just not my flow at all. But power to everybody who likes that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but other than that, like since we're gonna be playing Armored Core before some of these games. Like Sea of Stars is definitely one that
Oh,
guy from a guy from SG is like really singing its praises, like really singing its praises. And me, I feel like I'm finally primed to really give it a go
you
because
are exactly in the right spot you need to be after playing through all of like what inspired these kind of
uh-huh.
games. It still kills me that you never really were able to give Chained Echoes a shot back in the day, but
I
this
haven't
is like,
installed. That's what's
yeah,
so
I
funny.
know,
I haven't installed. Yeah.
but
So
it's not a game that you want to like just throw yourself into without really committing to it
uh
either. Because I kind
exactly.
of hit that wall as well.
The thing is like
But
turn-based JRPGs are games that when you start them, you're like, I am going to commit to this. I finally
you
learned
have
that,
to.
and I finally really realized that. And the games also have to be really compelling. I tell you, it's like Final Fantasy 1, 4, and 6 doing all those three, which was they really compelled me from the go, like to really give it my all. And also knowing that they were short helped. I think Sea of Stars is also short. So
I have no idea on that
yeah,
one.
but I've just been hearing such good things. It looks so good. I'm definitely gonna try it. Absolutely gonna try it. So no pain on
All right,
trying it. So
true that.
that ends this week's episode, Paul. Second to last from August. Tell me, where can people find you?
As always, y'all can find me at Dork of Art on Twitter. I post things sometimes
Yeah,
and nothing
way
else.
less. Yeah, way less around, like these days.
Yeah.
You can find me at Twitter/X at @a_Segovia. You can find me at Threads and Instagram at Alejandro Segovia93, and my current written content at seasongaming.com, and all written content at thecriticalcorner.com. So we want to thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, definitely give us a review in your platform of listening of choice. YouTube just exists there. It will just exist. I'm liking where audio is going. I tell you, like for sure. At least that's where our audience currently is. But we'll definitely keep serving both. Definitely go watch our reacts if you can for the Destiny thing, and play some games. Enjoy Armored Core if you're getting it tomorrow. Also get some exercise, touch some grass, and
Press X.
to play.
Good night, everybody.
Hasta la vista, baby.